Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny. I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
Yeah, I had a tough day. I work for somebody who is really challenging to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And his behavior today was screaming and telling me I'm not professional and I'm not qualified for the job, and just this really negative stuff that does not motivate me.
No.
And it's funny because I know I'm not perfect. It's I didn't do nothing to cause him to get upset. I don't get paid for my job, and I don't always have as much time as he'd want me to have. And I take responsibility for that, but it doesn't motivate me to allocate more time to this unpaid work when interpersonally it's so horrific. It's either silence or lecturing where I'm not allowed to talk, or trying to motivate me by shaming me with insults. So it's just very bad. And it's funny because I was thinking about where we left off last time, where I didn't even think much of it, but my older manager was saying these said that my younger manager was on crack. And when I sort of heard it back on the recording and heard it back in my mind, I was kind of wow, that's really cutting. And, I think you recognized at the time that I was, I didn't have self-energy in that sort of relationship. And, I sort of went through a little bit of sad feelings, that I was so sort of brutal against myself. And, kind of over the week doing work with thinking about it with myself and talking to my peer working group, I gained a lot of like I was able to inject more self energy into the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And like I just felt so much appreciation for my young part and like how much it's given me in my life.
Nice.
And how it helps me understand my kids and
Yeah.
You know, and
It's really great.
yeah, and I appreciate my older manager too and what it's trying to do. It's trying to like sort of react against like, you know, naivete or whatever it was of the younger part.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to kind of see that more from self and unblend a little bit and just sort of loosen up. And in that looseness, like I can appreciate the young parts, I can appreciate the old parts, I can, you know, I don't know, have a little more self throughout my day. But when something like this happens, like happened in my meeting this morning, you know, I feel very victimized by the brutality. And which is just kind of interesting because I do the brutality to myself and wasn't really feeling that victimization so much until very recently. But I don't know if that makes me like when someone else is just very like so it seems like with self, when you have self, you have a part and you can appreciate like how much it brought, even if it wasn't perfect, right? And you can like bring other parts or self into like nurture and support and help and guide, you know, the part.
Yes.
And so in my interaction with this guy I work for, like I had a shortcoming, even though I had other things that I was bringing that he didn't even get a chance to hear about because he was so busy, you know, shaming me for my shortcoming. Like, it's just, I feel the victim of that, as opposed to just, being like, okay, this is good information that this person is not, supportive of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it sort of takes me down. Like I've been very unproductive today because I've been like, oh my God, I just got so much grief. And I don't know if that's, I don't know. Is that healthy to feel that? Do I need to feel that? Or do I need to just be stronger and in the moment, like be able to sort of receive this blowback and, I don't know. But my response to it is like, I need to stand up for myself. I'm bringing the best that I can. I'm not getting paid. So, you know, this should be like something that is more enjoyable. And, you know, or is it like, am I just sort of collapsing in the face of like re-traumatization? It's hard for me.
Yeah. Okay. If it feels useful, I could try summarizing some of that in parts language. Okay. So I think I'm hearing there's a part that is collapsing and has the so much grief. That's the one that's most hurt by it. I believe it's the
Yes.
part, I believe there's another part is the one asking, is this healthy? Do I even need this? Am I supposed to be feeling this way? And then I think it's another part that's saying, I need to stand up for myself, and I'm doing the best I can. I think that those are just different parts.
Okay, but doesn't self doesn't self appreciate what parts are doing?
Yeah, I believe so.
And doesn't self grow from appreciating what one is already doing and setting goals to do more as needed?
Can you repeat that? I didn't quite follow.
Yeah, I guess if I had a supportive working relationship,
Mm-hmm.
I and the people I work with would appreciate what I'm doing and support me and continuing towards goals.
Yes. There would also be the emotional support, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah. Right.
I think that's something that self kind of doesn't get wrong, is the emotional support of parts, the appreciating and supporting them for who they are and welcoming them in the system.
Mm-hmm.
As far as whose goals get met and whose goals don't, um, if you have 1,000 parts, then you might have 1,000 conflicting goals. And so I think it's not even possible to meet every goal that every part has.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean,
And so I think,
the goal
just to finish that point,
okay.
I think that self's role is kind of leading, and it's not so much helping each part get its goal, other than the goal of not being alone, the goal of, I mean, self can create environments for parts. It can kind of give things to them, and it can get them and get the system into different places. But yeah, it doesn't really feel very goal oriented, or at least it's harder for me to describe, like, what's the goal that self's going to help me get to, other than that integration and that feeling of kind of wholeness and love and parts being supported.
Okay. I mean, I have some goals of what's needed for myself, my family, my financial stability, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like those are I've really thought about them. I've really sat with them. They're aligned. I feel like they're from and aligned with self.
Mm-hmm. They may be.
Yeah. And I think what I was just getting at is like self doesn't like cut down in order to achieve its goals. It doesn't cut down parts or cut down like feelings or it.
Right.
Yeah. And like my work environment is so unself-like is all I'm.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, your boss was not speaking to you from a place of self.
Right.
That was his parts shaming you, shaming yours.
Right.
And some of yours kind of receive that shame and feel defeated and
Yeah.
feel the grief, and others are devising plans or fantasizing about how to everything else and trying to kind of fix that from a more tactical perspective.
Yeah, I just like sometimes I'm not clear on like I feel like the world can be a very tough place. And
Sure.
for me to expect that like my work environment is going to be nurturing, I don't know if that's a realistic perspective
Yeah, I don't know
or
either.
expectation.
And that's why for me with IFS, it's all about, well, I don't know what my outside world is going to throw at me today or any day,
Uh-huh.
but I'm going to be nurturing for my parts inside of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the thing I can control. That's what self is best at. And if I can be self-led outside in the outside world, well, maybe I can turn external environments more that way.
Right. Well, but I can't do that when I get like collapsed and victimized. So
Right.
maybe you could guide me to sort of maybe learn some more about why that keeps happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the collapsed and victimized part needs something, and it's being hurt, provoked at the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And the other protectors that may have tried to prevent that or soothe it afterwards aren't fully capable as hard as they try.
Yeah, or I mean, or that did you say other parts or acts like that I don't have access to self, you mean?
No, I was saying the other parts that are trying to protect in whatever ways. You know, there's the managers that are trying to protect proactively by, okay, maybe I'll avoid my boss today. Maybe I'll do this extra thing. Maybe I'll, they have their strategies. And then there's firefighters usually that have their own systems. When I'm feeling hurt, when I come home and have a drink, my example for me, former me, firefighter kind of stuff. And, they're trying to put out the flames and soothe the pain of that part that is feeling victimized. And yeah, self can help the protectors, and self can help that exile.
Uh-huh. Are you there?
I am. I was just saying
okay.
self can help both of those types of parts, protectors and exiles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have one that you feel like needs your attention most, or you want to try going to first, we can try that. Like I said in our past conversations, I would usually kind of look for the protectors first, just so I have a good understanding of the lay of the land.
Okay.
But we could also, it feels right. And if you feel like you're up for it, meaning you're in a place of curiosity, compassion, creativity, then we could ask those protectors for space and try to go straight to that one who's feeling so victimized.
I'm just trying to connect with like self through breath for a minute. That's okay. I mean, I definitely feel that this part that collapses and feels victimized is up. So I sort of have a direct line to it.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anything in the way.
Okay, we can ask. For example, there was one saying, well, is this healthy? Do I need it? Do I need to feel this way? You could check with that part if it will allow you space to let you get to know that exile part.
So that's basically like a part that thinks that my exile is like weak or
right. Yeah.
Not being able to withstand fury in the workplace. And this feels like that young manager part to me that just wanted to like create through achievement like its own world of safety.
Yes. Yeah. Does that make sense to you? Why this part would want that and sees that as the route?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that sort of
let it know that makes sense to you.
And that kind of like a lot it lines up with a pattern that I'm like worried about. Maybe it's my older manager that's worried about it. That the pattern is that like I feel traumatized at work and then end up leaving to do something new. And then the same thing ends up happening again. Where I end up in a situation where I'm like being unappreciated for what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Or I feel unappreciated, or feel like I can manage my way into something better.
Right.
And it's that sort of underlying like world creation by means of like running away
Mm-hmm.
from overwhelming negativity.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're seeing that part is getting you to run away from the negativity, but it's seems to just keep putting you in other places where you're where this maybe this same kind of collapse part is still feeling unappreciated, and it's putting you in places where it feels like you're having to manage your way into something.
Yeah, it's where I'm getting unrecognized, unappreciated, rewarded, all that. And so then I just have to run away to somewhere else. But then, yeah.
Okay.
And it's like, I'm not building like positive relationships as I go along. They're like ending badly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that could be a part that we get to know also is, if it feels like it's a part that's putting you in situations that are kind of doomed or whatever.
Well,
is there something about its drive to go there? And we don't have to go meet that part. That doesn't sound like the exile part that you originally talked about going to, but I can see how this part is a protector there.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's somehow connected because remember we got a little bit of exile underneath my like new world creator manager
Mm-hmm.
that was like trying to run to safety and just like getting its feet like ankles broken, just falling flat on its face again. It was like running and falling and running and falling, and it was trying to run to safety. So that was like an underlying exile of this young manager that I got last time. And now, yeah. It seems like somehow I'm running away to something that's just getting me right back where I'm started somehow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which is like underappreciated, undervalued, like treated violently.
Mm. Okay. So I'm just going to try to repeat what I'm hearing just to clarify. So it feels like what's underlying underneath this protector, this young manager, is one who's feels like it's always running away and having its feet taken out from under it or ankles broken.
Yeah, it's trying to like create a new and better world, but then just recreating, just landing right back where it started.
Okay.
And I mean, I can sort of see that like I'm running from one thing to the next, and I'm missing something, I'm missing like, I guess like valuing myself more, that I'm trying to like get something from these worlds or these jobs or these people.
Yeah. Yeah. That to me sounds like a protector that is trying to get you somewhere, and it's really trying to secure something in the way it's working. It's working with that running, and it's trying to get that value that you say, I don't feel like I'm valuing myself. There's a part in you that feels unvalued.
Yeah.
And you have a running part that keeps running to try to get the value elsewhere. And from the next job or the next whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense to me. Would you like to get to know that part? Or another?
Yeah. Um,
The one who's running and has the ankles are breaking?
well, I think what's most up right now is
Mm-hmm.
like the sort of the burden of like a grieving.
Burden of grieving?
Like I'm feeling like aggrieved, by
Uh-huh.
others that like
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay.
that when they criticize me or don't appreciate me or don't value me,
Mm-hmm.
that instead of me just being like, all right, go find someone else to work for free and do this for you if you think I'm so bad. Like uh um somehow I feel very like I'm taking on the burden of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Okay. 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 We can try to get to know that part, the one who's taking on that burden and that grief of not being valued. The best way to do that is by asking it to unblend. Asking it to give you space. How does it respond to that? Still with me?
Yeah. Okay, I feel a little unblended.
Okay.
I feel unblended.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel towards the part that has taken on that burden? Still with me?
Yeah, so sometimes when I like just try to access self, I like then come back and don't know exactly what part I've got contact with.
Okay. What are you doing to try to access self?
Well, I was like unblending a bit from the feeling aggrieved,
Mm-hmm.
breathing.
Mm-hmm.
I know it helps me to like stay in sort of the movement of my breath, like to have sort of a foot of my attention in the movement of my breath.
But that sometimes takes you away from the part that you're wanting to contact.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it like has its back towards me.
The one who's
I'm
feeling
sensing
aggrieved.
like yeah, some sort of shame.
Mm-hmm. Yep. How do you feel towards that part?
Um, this is the $1 million question in my system.
Everyone's.
It's always hard for me to answer because I don't want to like give some canned like I feel compassion for my parts, which I know I'm supposed to feel.
You're not supposed to. I just want to know how you feel.
I mean, I feel some warmth, some like where its back is towards me and I can sense it has some shame, but I feel warmth like, that I'm here. So I feel present for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Great. Feeling some warmth and some presence. Are there any other parts that are objecting to you making contact with this one?
I can kind of sense like my older manager, like in the wing.
Okay.
But I think it recognizes that this one needs some TLC.
Yeah. Does it recognize you as the warmth and the presence that can offer it that? Does the manager recognize you?
I think so.
Okay. And it'll give you some space to,
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
stepped back a bit.
Great. Thanks to that manager.
Yeah. Because this manager, like, it wants like my heart commitment to things. Like it, so it thinks these feelings are important to address.
Mm-hmm. And it wants to make sure that your heart is committed. Did I hear that right?
It just it wants some like integrity with these feelings.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
wants me to not to like incorporate them or get to know them and understand them and contact with them, not do what the younger manager did, which was like, just sort of escape from them with new worlds.
Okay. So it wants you to really get to know them and it wants some integrity.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense to me. I wonder if that's the same one that was worried about giving a canned response. Wants to make sure that.
Yeah, probably. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So we can appreciate that one for looking out for that.
Yeah.
I'm also looking out for that. And that just means looking out for other parts that want to do IFS compared to self.
Right.
You still see that part that's holding the shame? Are you still feeling warm and present for it?
This older manager is sort of like a hold it together kind of manager.
Yes.
And I think I got a little embroiled with it. I was blended when I was speaking its interests. So I'm just making a little space now again to get back to the aggrieved part.
Mm-hmm.
what else? Is there anything protecting this aggrieved part?
Yeah, or anyone who is kind of getting in your way or doesn't want you going there now.
No, I think the aggrieved part is turned towards me.
Okay. Can you show it some of that warmth? Just let it know you'd like to get to know it.
Yeah, it's showing me like loud noises in my ears.
Mm-hmm.
It's like showing me that sensation of like
Mm-hmm.
being yelled at or yelling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It really wants you to know what it's been like for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You all right with that? With it showing you that?
Yeah, I mean it makes a lot of sense because that's what
Mm-hmm.
like sort of triggered this today.
Absolutely. Great. Yeah. Let it know that it can show you whatever it wants, that you are okay with it showing you, and that you really want to know what it's like for it.
Hmm.
How's it going?
I felt a little gripping of my hold it together manager who's like
Mm-hmm.
wanting to sort of grip on to the feeling of grief so that
Mm-hmm.
it can know it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I think that might be the right intuition from your hold it together manager
uh-huh.
to really come to know the grief that this part is carrying. And I would assume that may take some time. There might be a lot that this part needs to show you so that it feels like you really get it. What does the aggrieved one feel about that idea of sharing its grief with you?
Well, it's not used to that.
Right.
It's more used to just
Just holding it.
going off and being by itself
Yeah.
and
Right. Yeah.
distracting itself. Yeah.
That's what we're here to change,
Yeah.
to let it know that it doesn't have to be alone anymore. And that you can be present for it, that you are big enough to help it, to witness it, and to help unburden that grief. You have space for all of that. But there's no hurry, and it doesn't have to do anything that doesn't feel right for both of you.
Yeah. It's showing me like that it's showing me like that it's searching for a place to distract itself.
Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just let it know you see that. You see how it's tried to soothe itself in that way. There's nothing wrong with that. Is there more it wants to show you about what's been hard for it?
It's showing me that it wants to get up and just be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you can help it with that.
Yeah.
Again, that usually doesn't happen in an instant. There's somewhat of a process.
No, I know.
That I'd usually recommend. Mm-hmm.
It just wants to like get up and just erase it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to settle it. I mean, I'm trying to be settled here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's one way that it's tried to erase it is with distraction. It knows that it can take its mind off of it with distraction. But we can also see how that doesn't really make it go away. And if this part could just erase it on its own, it would have done that already.
Yeah.
So just let it know that you can help. You can help unburden it. The more you understand about it, the more it shares with you about what's been hard for it and about who it is and what it wants, the more you can help it get there.
So yeah, it's got these deep, like overwhelming grief. And then when I'm trying to learn more about it, it's showing me discomfort, distraction. I guess that's some protector around the grief.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it feels like it's the same part, like in the same place.
Yeah, could be. Could be. It has its own kind of parts. It has its distracting parts, or maybe that's something that it's known a lot of.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it's kind of just showing you what its world is like. And maybe it's afraid. Maybe it doesn't trust you or doesn't know. You said this is new to it, and it is.
Yeah.
So it doesn't know. It doesn't know maybe how unburdening looks or feels, or why we would want to learn any more about the grief. But you could ask it, when it shared with you about what it was like with the loud noises, and you were able to kind of feel that with it and understand that and acknowledge it. How did it like that? How did it like being able to just not feel alone in that? And to have someone who wants to understand that and validate that.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I'm sort of feeling its shame because I think there was a lot of yelling, but it yells back,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the
Yep.
loud noises are like everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes round and round.
Yeah. Yeah. And you
So
can see
I
how hard
think
that's been for it.
yeah, and that's why I can appreciate that, like, it just wants to go somewhere else.
Okay.
But
Is that something it would like to do now? Would it like for you and it to kind of take it to another place now? Or at least design one? Maybe a place you can meet it in the future?
yeah, it's kind of showing me that it wants to like whisper.
Okay. That's fine. It can whisper to you. It doesn't have to be shared with other parts. It doesn't have to be shared with me. If it wants to just set up another kind of environment where it feels
Yeah.
comfortable talking to you, or if it wants you to join it.
Yeah, it just wants like closeness so that we don't
Yeah.
have to yell. We can just whisper.
Yeah. You up for that?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can get close to it, or ask if it wants to be close to you, or where that might be. Just whatever feels right.
It wants to play like a whispering secrets game.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You can do that with it. How's it feeling just between you two now?
It was showing me like I whispered to it, and then it was really afraid to whisper back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or it's showing me that it's really afraid of something.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Okay.
Like a afraid of the dark kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's showing me like being afraid in the dark.
Yeah. Just remind it doesn't have to do anything. It doesn't have to tell you anything. And it can tell you or show you in any way that it wants. And again, that none of it has to be shared out loud with me or anybody else.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to interrupt your game, but I will have to go soon.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
you can stay with this part if you like in this space. We can talk, and you can talk with this part about how to get back to this place in the future. Because it's showing you what it needs.
Yeah.
And so that's all that I'm going to
It's
advise is to do that.
Yeah. It's
Mm-hmm.
funny because like it wanted to play a game and then it gets overwhelmed by the game and then it ends up
Mm-hmm.
right back where it started, which is like
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed and feeling grief and sad and
you're okay with all of that. You're okay with it.
yeah.
When you're in self energy, it can show you all of that. It can have those feelings, and you can make space for them.
Yeah.
And stay with it through those feelings.
Got it. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
And it just needs more of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's been ashamed for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. And sorry, I don't mean it just means as in if you just do that, everything's going to be great. But at this stage, you're in this kind of witnessing stage, and it needs all the time that it needs to be able to kind of show you what it needs and show you its process in a way that feels safe for it.
Uh-huh.
And for you to just continue understanding everything about it, everything it wants you to know about it, what it's been like for it.
Yeah. Okay.
You think you can get back here in the future with this part? Is there something you'd like to kind of negotiate with it about that? Like, you could ask it, what do you need from me? How can I, when, where, how? How often some people find a place on their body to kind of touch into. I'm a big fan of just putting these parts on the calendar and revisiting them daily. So that it knows that this isn't a fluke. And that it can trust you more and more to tell you its secrets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's in its bedroom and I know where to find it.
Okay.
Hmm.
And if you want, I can also, commit to checking in on that first thing in our next conversation. I don't know when that will be. But it sounds like you're doing it. You know what to do. This part knows what it needs. And you can just keep meeting it there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that phase of witnessing and understanding is maybe the most important that we can do with an exiled part, and sometimes takes longest.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. So we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
it. Okay. Have a good one.
And thanks to that part, and thanks to the manager that was willing to give you space to do this, and all the other parts that were.
Yeah.
You can do really great work when you're in this place and the parts allow for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, James.
Keep me posted. Send me any questions, concerns you have. And if you're not on the calendar, I can get you back on there.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.